road department maps and things like that to do a layout and propose an application that would come back to the commission for approval before being submitted.
I thank you, Mr. Coster, and I believe that the EDC office will assist you. But does this involve the NDOT?
Yes.
It does.
These are applications to them.
Yeah. So all this involves NDOT. And have you spoken to them at all?
The pre-application was approved by NDOT.
Oh,
And
okay.
I did get some very rough estimates on both of
Okay,
these.
but you did speak to NDOT and got the approval.
I did speak to them.
Very good. Okay. All right. Questions? Any questions concerning this? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from the Baker's Area Citizens Advisory Board for grant application system assistance for the installation of streetlights in the town of Baker.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. And the final item, discussion action, possible approval request for a letter to be sent to U.S. Postal Service Senior Manager, Post Office Operations in Las Vegas, Nevada, regarding reduced lighting at the Baker Post Office as part of the Dark Skies Initiative. I don't know anything about dark skies, so can you explain this to me?
Yes, Great Basin National Park has a lot of astronomy programs that have been growing enormously over the past few years, from say 400 visitors now to 10,000 visitors per year. Obviously this brings an economic benefit into the Baker area, and the town of Baker wants to support their initiatives and thereby reduce the lighting in town.
Well, see, that has me confused because
Here I'm asking for street lights, and
yeah,
now
you're
I'm
asking for street lights and you're saying to turn the lights off.
Types of lights.
Yeah.
Right, down-directed lights. The post office in particular has lights that radiate out at 360, and it's very bright. And when we're asking for street lights, we will be very careful in specifying that we want them to be down-directed. So these are not in conflict. In fact, the discussion of streetlights came up when we were talking about reducing the lighting in town.
They've had excellent interface. The Baker Advisory folks have had an excellent interface with the park and with Mount Wheeler Power on some of these state-of-the-art yet manageable cost lighting fixtures that don't toss light up to where it obstructs.
Okay.
And
Not
I have to add
anti-light, just anti-pollution.
it's not very often we get to call the federal government and ask them for less, and that's what we're doing here.
That's
Who
what
is
I'm laughing at. We're asking for
But,
less.
the post office right now is the brightest commercial light in Baker because it kind of understandably broadcasts light out into the parking lot and the walk in front, and that's detrimental to this dark skies.
Okay, very good. Just as long as I got that straight, I thought you were going to land a spaceship or something there. I hope I was.
Okay, and I believe you have a copy of the
Yeah,
proposed
we
letter.
do. We do. This time I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Baker Area Citizens Advisory Board to submit a finished letter along the lines of that submitted in the attachments here to the United States Postal Service.
Now, does the letter come from us or from Baker?
The intent is that it would come from the county commission.
Okay.
Following the draft that was presented
Sure.
here.
If you'll do the draft, and
I
you
got
have
the
it here,
It's here.
we'll
We'll
design a letter, and Patrice already has it, so we're okay. Okay? I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Question?
I have a question.
Sure.
Regarding this, we're soliciting the postal service to put these lights in, is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
You know, the status of the postal service today is pretty bleak, and I wonder if this might just not fall on the floor. I would think possibly that if the Park Service is instituting this astronomy program, maybe they could help get the lights in.
Well, if we go through the postal service first, and they turn us down, then we can approach the park. The commission can approach. the
There
park.
is a Great Basin Foundation that might be interested in helping.
Yeah.
But I think the first issue was this is federal property. We can't just say we'll help you out with the lights.
Right.
We have to go to their higher ups to start.
But that's a good point with the way the postal service
And
is.
there's also the prospect that as an interim measure, they might just turn down the existing lights to dim the lights, and then as they come through normal replacement cycle or breakdown,
They can change
they can
the
put in the
lights.
appropriate lights.
Sure.
I could say that private individuals in Baker have said, my lights are too bright, I'll just paint the sides black. that doesn't work very well because there's not much light left going down.
That's right.
The light that we are proposing, the lights that we propose for various applications would give the same amount of light, but it would be down.
Well, let's
directly.
try this route, and then if it don't work, we'll try another route. How's
Okay.
that? Okay, I have a motion, a second. Question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming up, nice seeing you. Bunny Hill, Mrs. Hill is not here today, but this grant is a very simple one. They just give us the money, we just have to apply for it. There's no matching funds, there's no anything, and we just have to apply for it. So Bunny needs the approval to allow her to apply for the $4,500.
I'll make a motion to allow Ms. Hill the approval from the State of Nevada Department of Business and Industry Housing Division in the amount of $4,500 for homeless protection.
Thank you. I have a motion, do I hear a second? I have a second. Question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. Garza.
Thank you, Chair and Commission.
You've been up here a lot.
I like to help. Let's see here. Discussion action, possible approval to submit an RFP to construct a single regulation tennis court at the county golf course property funded by SNFMA funding and or allocated capital improvement funds prior approval by the county commission before obligation.
Okay.
Right now, we are looking at submitting an RFP to go out to bid to build a single tennis court to replace the double complex. We have enough funding in SNFMA to do that, and with the exception of re-erecting the fence around the tennis court, which Bill Calderwood and his team there at the building maintenance could re-erect the existing fence that
I
we
was going
have
to say,
now.
is the fence usable?
Yeah, I think so. And so I don't really see any major complications. It's just a matter of getting the bid out, receiving proposals, and hopefully getting it constructed before the end of August of this summer.
And that was, we approved this already except for the RFP.
Correct.
All right, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve to submit the RFP to construct the single regulation tennis court.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Shoot.
We don't know what the cost of the capital improvement fund may be, do we?
We're right at this point in time, I don't think we need to tap into that because all we're looking at is labor hours to re-erect the existing materials that were taken down around from the fence. The SNFMA funds itself will pay for the contractor to come in, do the slab, paint it, get the center court net up, and then all we need to do is take the existing lights that we took down from the old court and the fencing structure and reinstall it around the existing court, the new court that's going to be built. So I don't think there's going to be a cost associated with that if we can use all the same materials.
From SNFMA that we already have?
Yes.
So the only problem I have is that we don't know if we're going, this reads that we may have to use funds from.
Right, I put that if we had to use it, we would come to the commission prior to obligating it to get that approval.
And you know what it might be.
No, I don't think so, because if all the materials from the fence can be utilized, I don't see us having to tap into any capital improvement costs. Nuts and bolts, that's the main part.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Flannery. I have two representations here. One looked out.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing?
Good. You know, Karen's been working really hard on this. We're about ready to receive an award if we can get it going. But Karen's worked real hard with the LEPC board members, Mike's a board member, I'm a board member, brought it forward to us. This water protection plan, it will be able to have this into our GIS program, which this would help us keep structures and contaminants away from our water sources. Anyway, Karen's here to answer any questions for you, and she's been working really hard on this. So,
Well, I guess you did look out. Come on up.
In turn, this stems way back to when it was first called, when we started implementing the wellhead protection. Yeah.
The commission approved the county Community Source Water Protection Plan in early 2012. Since that time, we've been able to implement almost all of the tasks outlined in the first 2-year action plan. So last month I had a call from Kim Boltzener that you met with from NDEP saying that they would like to nominate White Pine County's program for a national award, which is sponsored through the American Water Works Association. And they issue those on an annual basis for small, medium, and large-sized communities. And they wanted to include White Pine in a nomination for a small community program. So I've been working with Kim to put together the report, and we'd like to have a letter of support from the county commission, which I believe you have. They're ready for signature if that's approved. So.
Okay. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I make a,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Go ahead, Lori.
Okay, I make a motion to approve sending a letter of support for the nomination of White Pine County Community Source Water Protection Plan for the American Water Works Association, a Central Mary Source Water Protection Award. And thank you, Karen.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second. Question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Where'd it go? There it is. How can I lose you on the spot? Elizabeth Francis, Finance Director, being represented by Mrs. Calderwood, Lenny Calderwood. First item, discussion action possible approval to revise general fund budget to utilize contingency in the amount of $76,000 to cover $50,000 in data processing contract services 0110952915-000, $13,000 to cover legal settlements and human resources 011152802000, and $13,000 contract services in airport operating 014205291500 to cover the airport survey inspection centennial celebration.
Yeah, this is, we're taking the money out of contingency. It's not a formal augmentation. We had $250,000 in contingency. This just needs to come forward to be approved, so the commission is aware of that we are taking money out of contingency.
Okay. Any
We'll
questions?
leave $174,000 if anything arises between now and June 30th.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve to revise the general fund budget to utilize contingency in the amount of $76,000 to cover $50,000 in data processing contract services 001-109-52915-000, $13,000 to cover the legal settlement and human resources 001-52802-000, and $13,000 in contract services in airport operating 001-420-52915-000 to cover the airport survey inspection centennial celebration.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Discussion action possible approval of resolution 2013-07 to augment the FY 2012-2013 budget for White Pine County General Fund in the amount of $268,200 and the White Pine County Senior Center Fund in the amount of $21,710 in order to appropriate previously unbudgeted resources. What is happening in here?
Feedback.
From
One of your
well,
mics.
Anyway, it's fine. Continue. Anybody? Any?
I don't see
Take your time.
in the red, so.
Nothing? Oh, I'm fine with the buzz, and I don't care about that. Let's get down to the agenda. Is there anything you need to say, Lynn?
The general fund, well, these both have to be augmented formally because they both receive ad valorem checks, so it has to be a formal augmentation. The first one, the $268,200, is the amount that was previously approved to pay to the city that was not previously budgeted for.
Okay.
And the senior center, part of it was for the equipment over 5,000, which is a portion of one of the new vehicles. They got the 20,000 for Barrett, got 10,000 for Neil Cord, and this is the remaining.
Right.
The other was just under budgeted, and we couldn't move within because they still have food costs, and they will continue to have food costs until the end of the year. As you can see, a lot of it is utilities.
Okay, thank you. Any question?
I make a motion to go ahead and approve resolution number 2013-01, resolution to augment.
07.
Oh, 07. Yeah. A resolution to augment the FY 2012-2013 budget of the White Pine County General Fund in the amount of $2,682,200 and the White Pine County Senior Center Fund in the amount of $21,710 in order to appropriate previously unbudgeted resources.
Okay.
Could you restate the amount? Mine says 268.
$268,100.
Yeah. Is that what you said? I misunderstood.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Discussion action, possible approval recommendations from the building committee from their 514 meeting. Mr. Calderwood.
The other half.
Mrs. Francis. Calderwood's representing the Francis. Okay.
Which one are we on? We're on
D.
C.
Building D.
You want to go to D?
We didn't do C. I'm sorry. I scratched it off. We didn't do it. I'm sorry. Discussion action, possible approval to appoint Bill Calderwood, Tim Norton, Lori Carson, and Elizabeth Francis as a team of White Pine County that will meet with Core Construction weekly to receive updates and concerns on the aquatic center during construction.
Just simply that, just a point of contact for the commissioners.
Be the
that
county
they can meet with and give the commission updates, and I think maybe get one of the offices or that's been vacated temporary, maybe the building and planning office, so we can have all our plans and blueprints and things available for meeting with the CMAR.
Okay. Question? Anybody have problems?
I don't have a problem.
Sure.
I don't think. Is the building committee going to have anything more to do with the pool, just kind of an official handoff? Because this is an all-employee group, and I wonder if we're the outlet to all the information about this important project.
Well, it'll come through. They'll check every day and give us a report, and then it'll come to the commission because Mrs. Carson's.
Like periodically.
Yeah. Well, every meeting if there's something.
That is a good question. I'm not sure.
What this involves is it's more keeping track of everything in regards to what they call CMAR, and that's the coordination between the construction and the owner. And so where we have a contingency, like if we wanted to upgrade so far as the phototech, then we can do that, and so that there's enough time. And then we can even give reports back to the building committee, and then we can go ahead and present it to the commission.
Okay.
This is a weekly keeping track.
So this is kind of a monitoring thing, not an
Yes.
authoritative thing.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's very important because my last dealing with a large deal like this, that committee was circumvented, or that portion was circumvented, and we found ourselves in deep trouble. So it's not the county school district. Okay, at this time I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve to appoint Bill Calderwood, Tim Norton, Lori Carson, and Elizabeth Francis as the team for White Pine County that will meet with Core Construction weekly to receive updates and concerns about the aquatic center during construction.
Okay, do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I second the motion. And I have a
Thank you.
question.
Sure, go ahead.
That seems to be quite frequent. I just hope you don't get in their way. Let's see the pool.
Do our best, not. And as I believe it was brought before the commission,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a representative through,
On-site.
on-site all the time to protect our interests.
Yeah.
Too many
It'll
side
probably be in the
allegations.
way
No,
too.
this is part of the protocol for Seymour.
Yeah, I think it's good, we can keep control. But just stay out of the way of the people working.
Big metal.
That was very good, Mike. Okay, any other questions?
I'm just going to comment. I'm going to vote for this with the understanding that this is designating official points of contact for the contractor in the CMAR process. And then all the other normal communication to the commission and info to the public, as well as the exercise of contract authority will remain in place.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Got it.
Oh, we did. Question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we go to item D. Discussion action, possible approval, recommendations from the building committee from their 5/14/213 meeting.
Okay, the two recommendations brought forward from the building committee. Number one, that the White Pine County should utilize the design build process for the Ely Times building remodel as opposed to a construction manager risk CMAR. This was just because the project's small in nature, perhaps a little more comfortable for our local contractors until we see how the CMAR works for them, trying to keep the process simple. And we've had so much hands-on from our departments and heads, and we've kind of got this architect idea of kind of moving forward anyways, so it makes sense to the committee to go with this traditional method. The second one is the White Pine County should rename the Ely Times building to the White Pine County Administrative Building.
And to refer to that from here on.
You say yes.
Okay, any questions? If none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move to accept the report.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Laney. Yes.
Chair Ramos, Mr. Brown, does accepting the report constitutes the same thing as accepting the recommendations
I'm sorry,
of the board?
I thought I heard that he also said accepting the recommendations. I thought he added that on. Are you
Just
No,
add,
motion to follow the recommendations?
just
I
add,
just.
instead of saying the report, say the recommendation.
Recommendation.
Okay, now is that okay?
Yeah, so.
Is that okay?
we
I
should
second it.
say-
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Now we're,
I thought that was.
that's all right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Ricky. Kathy.
In McGill, we're going to start the season this weekend. So I'm requesting approval for this change. Their first year, they'll be paid $8.50 per hour. Second year, going up 75 cents. And then each year thereafter, 35 cents. And then requesting when the supervisor is in the event isn't at the pool, we'll have a senior lifeguard there for a differential of 25 cents per hour.
Did you discuss it with finance?
Yes. And these are, I did comparables throughout the state with seasonal and year-round aquatic centers, so it's pretty
Pretty standard.
Yeah, pretty standard.
I think that's great. This is a little bit of an increase. I was worried there wasn't going to be any.
Yeah, I know.
What were the rates last year throughout the
They-
clearing absence?
$8.25, and they've been and we've had some come in year after year at $8.25. So we thought
That
this
would be for the
fair.
1 year, and then it was essentially 25-cent increase across the board.
Yeah. And this year, the pool over in McGill is cutting back 1 hour a day, and then also they've cut back 1 lifeguard a day. So they've kind of looked at both ends there too with this.
Mr. Calderwood?
That statement that we've cut back a lifeguard is absolutely not true.
Oh, I talked to Joanne yesterday.
Yeah, but,
Joanne told
and
me.
I had discussions with Joanne as well, and even though that we were cutting back budget-wise, my proposal to her was we need to worry about perhaps the length of time the pool's open, and we don't save money by safety by reducing the
That's
length.
exactly correct, thank you.
Yeah, I talked to John yesterday, sorry.
No, that's fine.
And I talked to them last night at the close of the Town Council about the restoration of the $3,000 out of the budget, and they've already raised more money than that in private funds. It's a phenomenal little thing going on there.
Yeah, that's part of White Pine history. That's
Absolutely.
okay. At this time, are there any questions or discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations for the wage scale of the seasonal lifeguards and the Gale swimming pool.
I would second it.
A second. Question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Notice of untimed items.
I had the opportunity to meet with Senator Reed back in March of this year, and we talked about establishing the rail line. And Senator Reed suggested that the rail line project would be an excellent Tiger Grant project. I mentioned to the senator that Tiger Grants weren't funded then, and he gave me a little smile and said we'll have to work on that. And then on April 29th, we had the next round of Tiger Grant funding became available. The funding round closes on June 3rd. It's an incredibly short round, and this round also has some things that weren't in other Tiger Grant rounds. Number one, we are considered a rural applicant, and most of the time, well, in all the previous times, rural applicants were limited to $10 million. I contacted USDOT and asked if that was true for this round, and they said no, they've lifted that cap, and very much surprising. So what we're doing is we're making the application in two phases. Our first phase is to open up the rail line to freight traffic. It will still be the exact same rail that BHP used and the Nevada Northern has been using for the past century. What we'll do is go in and replace ties and increase ballast and open up the road crossing at Curry, and then also repair the other road crossings on the railroad too. The other thing that was interesting about this grant application is that there is a sentence in there that says if we have money at the end of our grant process, we will either have another round of grants, or we will give additional money to successful grantees that we gave money to. So we're also putting in a second part of the grant application to re-rail the entire rail line with heavier rail, 132-pound or heavier rail. And this is the standard rail that the Union Pacific or the BNSF would use on their tracks.
So where would you re-rail?
From Shafter all the way down to the mine.
Really?
Yeah. If the money.
No, I understand that,
yeah.
but that's a project.
It is a very big project, but then it brings the railroad into the same class of railroads that any freight lines would open. So, we would have the ability to handle anything.
Well, you're talking then about rebuilding it as it was.
Correct, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Minus the water towers.
Yeah.
Mark, does this bring it up enough to where the mines can use it for?
Exactly.
So they don't have to truck?
That's the entire purpose behind this grant.
Because then along that, we can go ahead and have our little spurs.
Absolutely.
So that we can have industry. I have wanted this since I have been a commissioner, and we have tried and tried and tried. This.
We are probably in the best position to get this done now than we've ever have been.
Yeah, Karen and Donna Bath, we've worked on this for years, so this is just really brings me joy for the future.
And prior to you worrying about it and working on it, the whole county has since 1983.
Yes. So, the Tiger Grant process is incredibly competitive, but we have lots of support. I should mention that both Elko County and Eureka County's commissions have given us letters of support too. So now we're proposing this project as a 3-county project, which Exactly, it makes it that much more of a powerful project. And so we're feeling very good. The other thing I should mention too is the mine has committed to donating $4 million worth of rock that we can crush and use as ballast. So even though we don't need a match, we have a match. And then our operator of the rail line has committed to